people often, they go and save all the deposit, but they haven't actually had any advice or guidance through the way. And you do need it early on. And if you've got a mortgage broker that won't help you before you're ready, then, there's a good reason to ditch them, I think.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, darling. We got to feel safe to ask questions. Like, one thing we didn't know is we thought we were across our own mathematics about 5% and 10% and what have you. But actually, like, we knew stamp duty got tacked on later, but LMI is a really interesting one that you kind of don't understand until you start the process, where it was sort of our LVR, like we were like, 95% you get. But actually, they tack on the LMI, but then they work out what they're going to lend you with that LMI on top of it. So you effectively have to pay the LMI up front, really, if you're only providing such a small deposit. So it was that equity element. We didn't really understand that. And so when we sat down with him, we actually realised we were kind of a bit further off than we might have thought. So we knew how we could change our situation with work and what have you to make it happen earlier. So, and he really explained the nuance with that and offset accounts and all that stuff that we just wouldn't have known other than that. So
yeah, that's it. That was a really good point. I think the deposit thing was really interesting. And I don't know that many first home buyers sort of stop to think about this. We all know you need a lot of money up front, right? But it's considerably more than you think. Because of all the hidden costs. I mean, you've got your LMI, you've got stamp duty, you've got all of that stuff, and it eats into it massively. And so that's what's really good about engaging with the broker early, because, I mean, how early on were we doing it? 8 or 9 months before we bought, maybe even earlier than that. And he was in a position to say, you need at least X amount of money. And so you could then sort of plan ahead to get there. And I thought that was really useful, because otherwise you're just kind of taking a stab in the dark. You think you hit, let's say you're buying a $600,000 house, for example. Well, 5% of that's 30 grand. So you hit 30 grand, you think, great, it's all sorted. Until you realise that, there's all those other costs, and you've really got to factor that in.
Legals and your building and pest inspections. Yep. And we do do actually have a spreadsheet for purchasing costs that that people can access as well. So they're really good points, because it's important not to just focus on the percentage of the purchase price to save. You must make sure that you've got enough money, or you can end up in a little bit of a pickle if you haven't got that, because some of those expenses happen before the loan is released to you, before you settle the property. So really important to know when they're going to be due, and that you have access to the money to actually pay them.